the Conservation Commission meeting to order. As you all know, this meeting is being televised. Is there anything to come before the Conservation Commission this evening that's not on the agenda?
Can we talk about the Cranberry Bog? What the heck is going on there?
Sure, we can do that down under land management, or do you want to do it? Okay.
No, I'll wait till the end.
Okay. First item on the agenda is a request for determination of applicability for Pan Am's right-of-way in a wetland resource area determination. Chris, have you got a notice? That you
I do, Mr. Chairman. The legal notice pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. The Town of Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a remote public hearing on Tuesday, April 6, 2021 at 7 p.m. to consider the following application. Under the provisions of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 31, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a virtual public meeting for a request for determination of applicability filed by Keith Morris. The applicant wishes to determine if the resource areas are accurate along the Pan Am rights of way. Work will take place within 100 feet of a wetland.
Thank you, Chris. Is the applicant here?
Yes, I'm Keith Morris, consultant for Pan Am Railways.
Okay, Keith, do you want to tell us what your client wants to do, please?
Sure. Every year we have to update their vegetation management plan, and that's what we're doing this year. It's a 5-year plan, and the last one ran out at the end of last year, 2020. We do have approval for a new plan. As part of that plan, we have to go to each community where their rights of way go through and get approval for their no spray zones along the railroad tracks. Those are essentially wetland areas that are within 10 feet of the spray pattern. And what we do is the ties are marked. You would have a blue tie, then a yellow tie, then going past the no spray zone coming out of it, you would have a yellow and a blue. In between the yellow is a no spray zone. This is like, I believe, the 4th or 5th time I've been doing it. So it's about 20, 25 years. Things really haven't changed that much as far as in Chelmsford. It's along the Merrimack for the Northern Freight Main Line, and then going out towards Air, there's like a mile out that way. And what I do also is every year they spray. I ride with the applicator in the spray truck on the high rails with the plans that were submitted to you and every other community to make sure the no spray zones are located and everything goes according to the plan. The other thing is, if say there's an area that's not regulated as wetlands, say a drainage ditch, but if it rained the night before, there's water in there or ponded water anywhere, it's treated as a wetland, so there's no spray within 10 feet of those areas either.
Okay. Is that it? Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, as far as what's being sprayed and the operational plan, you'll be getting a letter with a link to a website within the next few days. And that's separate from this application, but it'll have all the detailed plans, what's going on with what they're spraying this year, how they're doing it. And you would have I believe you have 45 days to comment. They're not planning to spray till the end of May, beginning of June.
So May and June is when you plan to do it?
Yeah, probably the end of May, beginning of June, depending on weather and the applicator's schedule.
What kind of stuff are you using?
It's basically glyphosate. I think this year is Aquanite, I think. But again, all the actual herbicides and amounts are in the yearly operational plan.
So is this a mixture that Pan Am puts together, or is this a commercially available product?
They're all approved by the Department of Agricultural Resources, who oversees this. It's their regulation. And as part of that, we're required to come in for the approval of the no spray zones. Some of it's just basic Roundup. Okay. And what the spray pattern, there's a big tanker truck with a spray boom that's about 18 inches off the back of the truck with probably 15 or 20 nozzles, which the applicator can control each nozzle. And the spray pattern is 10 feet on center from the center of track, so a total of 20 feet wide. So if there's an area within 10 feet of the center line that's a wetland area, we can't spray that. You have to stop spraying, when it's 12, 13 feet. It's fairly conservative.
when's the last, if you look on the map in the very back of your submission, when's the last time this area was delineated by anybody other than you guys? Katie, has conservation agent ever walked this site, this line rather, to agree or disagree with what they say?
No, I've been here 6 years and the last permit was 5 years. So I haven't been out there.
Now this area is, the red line is the railroad. Is that correct?
The red line is a water supply well. It's the zone 2, and that's separate from wetlands, obviously, but those areas can only be sprayed every other year. So if you look on the map this year from just kind of southwest from milepost 303, right out through town, they can't spray at all this year because it's a water supply area. There's also a well that's within 400 feet, which can never be sprayed, that area there.
But is the red line that goes through this page, is that a railroad?
That's the railroad tracks. I think there's
okay. Yep.
There's arrows pointing, red arrows pointing one way, and then along the Northern Freight Main Line, which is in the blue, there's arrows past CPN 2 that points the other way. It's about 3.5 miles in Chelmsford.
When was the last time those there's 3 yellow markers areas on this? When's the last time those yellow areas were delineated by
I try and update them every year. I do a section every year in Chelmsford. I have to look at my records, but we've been doing it so long. You can basically, if you drive by, I think there's a pizza shop down there and there's a tributary to the Merrimack River. You can just see the weeds where they haven't sprayed. And that's what most of it is along the tracks because it's been so long.
Do these areas tend to migrate at all?
You have certain things like beaver activity, like you'll have maybe a beaver dam that'll back up the water up to the base of the tracks, but it pretty much stays the same. There are some culverts that aren't regulated, but like I said, if it rains the night before and they're flowing, they can't spray within 10 feet of those.
So our conservation agent has not verified the yellow areas in at least 6 years. Is that correct?
I know it wasn't done the last year, the last time.
Katie just said she's been here 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you notify the water departments when you do the work?
We do. I have been in contact with them because there is a well you can see on the plan between milepost 303 and 304 that's within 400 feet. So they can't spray that area, and that's highlighted on the plan.
And is it all done in one day, or does it take 3 or 4 days or a week?
Like for Chelmsford, it's 1 day. It's only depending on train traffic and weather, you could probably do 30, 40, 50 miles a day. The other thing, if it's too windy, they can't spray.
Okay.
If it's raining, they can't spray.
Okay. Other questions, Mark?
No, I don't have anything. This is typical.
Chris? Garahan?
Yeah, Dave. So I'm going to abstain from this one because that sensitive area is, I'm on Maynard Circle, so that sensitive area kind of butts the back of my property. So I'm going to abstain just because I am in a butter of the sensitive area.
Okay, Chris Tamula?
I'm good, Dave.
John Swenson?
I'm good with this, Dave.
Okay, Billy Vines?
I'm all set, Dave.
Do you have any other comments or questions, Katie?
Just that this would be when you go to vote, it'll be a determination 2A, which means it's a determination of the wetlands rather than a -3. So it'd be a determination 2A, which is technically negative, but it basically says that the commission agrees with what's been shown on the plan.
And if I could just make one other comment, what I tell other commissions, if they approve it as a 2A, which is what the state requests, just put in the comment section that the delineation is for the purpose of vegetation management only, because it's not an actual field delineation where you delineate with flagging like they were going to build or work within a buffer zone. It's just basically 10 feet.
Yeah, I'll put that in the
zone.
Okay, Katie?
Yeah, I'll put that in the description on the determination.
All right, is there any comments from the audience on this request by Pan Am? Hearing none. I didn't realize that Pan Am still existed. They're so hard to find. They're so hard to find, right? Anyhow, I will entertain a motion to issue a, is it called a negative 2A or a positive 2A?
It's negative determination.
Okay, this is a negative
Determination 2A.
determination, paragraph 2A, correct? That's what you want?
Correct.
Okay. Can I have that motion?
Move.
Moved by Billy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chris. Any further discussion? All in favor? Gibbs?
Yes.
Swenson?
Yes,
Fines?
Aye.
Garahan?
Abstain.
Tamula?
Yes.
And McLaughlin, yes. Very good. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Next item on the agenda is a notice of intent continuance for 314 Dunstable Road. Katie, can you give us an update?
Yes, Katie Enright has requested that we continue again without discussion, because they haven't heard from the LSP on the 21E yet.
Does she have
would
a
like-
date? Should we
She would
continue?
like to go till April 20th.
Okay. Can I have a motion to continue the hearing on 314 Dunstable Road to
Move.
April 20th?
So move.
Moved by Gibbs, second.
I'll
Second.
second that.
Second by Mr. Swenson. Any discussion? All in favor? Gibbs?
Aye.
Swenson?
Aye,
Fines?
Aye.
Garahan?
Aye.
Tamula?
Aye.
And McLaughlin, aye. Next item on the agenda is 11 Plum Place. Plum Street. Did anyone know where that was before they looked it up?
I never heard of it, Dave, to be honest, before this notice.
All right, Chris, could you read the notice, please?
Mr. Chairman, under the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a virtual public meeting on April 6, 2021 at 7 p.m. for a notice of intent filed by Gregory Sagnini. The applicant wishes to raise an existing single-family home and construct a new two-family home at 11 Plum Street. Work will take place within 100 feet of a wetland.
Is the applicant here?
We are, Mr. Chair.
Okay, good. I think we can just go to, you've all got your agent's report in front of you. It looks fairly straightforward. Let's open it up to questions from the commission. Mark Gibbs?
Well, being at the lot size, it's exempt from the 50-foot, correct? That's my understanding. And I don't know what, get me into the 200-foot riverfront. How was that? I don't know how that works with the size of the lot.
So,
It's outside of that's outside of the town's 50-foot no build.
Right.
Okay, but there are state regs, and that's what you're asking, Katie?
the riverfront here would be redevelopment. And with redevelopment and riverfront, you're allowed 5,000 square feet of redevelopment within the outer riparian, which this is in. And this is under that threshold, total development.
Okay.
So it meets the standard.
Anything else, Mark? Mark, anything else?
I have nothing for this.
John
Nothing.
Swenson?
no, I don't have anything, Dave.
Billy Vines?
Pretty cut and dry, Dave. I'm fine.
Chris Garahan?
What do we have for erosion controls on the plans?
We have a line of an erosion control barrier made up of wattles and silt fence, kind of at the limit of the work. It is on the plan. I do have a copy pegged up if you want me to share my screen, but we do show those on the plan.
Very good. I'm good. Nothing else, Mr. Chairman.
Chris Tamula?
I'm good, David.
Okay. How quickly will the existing house come down, sir?
We're planning on starting this week, and it should just take a couple days.
A couple of days. What are you going to do to keep the dust and debris from flying all over the place? Anything?
My contractor has that plan. I'm not sure.
I mean, if it's really windy, you don't want the stuff blowing all over the neighborhood, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Usually, you can get these things down in a day.
Yeah. So if we can get it down in one day, then that's what we're going to do. Most likely. It's a small house.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from the audience on 11 Plum Street?
Dave, I have one, please. It's Linda Carney. I'm on the corner of Plum and Hildreth Street. You guys were just here looking at the property across from us on
Yeah.
Hildreth Street. And I just have a concern because the back of that property drops down to the brook that runs behind my property very swiftly, very quickly. And the large trees have been taken down there. And I am concerned with erosion and the impact that might have on the water coming through the brook.
Are you talking about when the new house is constructed?
They've already
Or
taken.
are you talking about as it exists today?
With the new construction, because they've removed the big trees that kind of held the embankment in place.
Okay, it looks like God, if
What
I
they're
can read
doing
this.
to help support that bank.
Can somebody read off the elevations on this map? It's too small for me.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, the closest the new structure comes to that drop in topography that the abutter was talking about is about 55 to 60 feet. So we're up around the 130 contour, so to speak. And like I said, about 50, 60 feet away, there's a 124 contour, drops down to about 120. So there's a 4 to 6 foot drop or so back there. But really with the new structure, we shouldn't be anywhere near that.
And how many, I mean, it doesn't show on these plans, but how many trees are you planning to take down?
They're already gone.
Oh.
They did it this week or
Okay.
last week.
Well, Katie, I take it those were outside of our jurisdiction, probably.
No, they would have been in it. I didn't know about that.
They're very
Um,
large trees.
We should ask for probably some replanting here, some mitigation, some slope stabilization.
Are you planning to grind out the stumps or pull the stumps out or leave them in place? What are your plans for those trees?
The stumps will be coming out.
You're going to pull them out.
Yeah, it's the edge of the new construction will be right where the tree in the back was, so that'll be coming out as part of the excavation.
Oh, so the trees are further up near the proposed house?
Yeah, the trees, both trees that came down are one was in the front yard and would be in front of what the proposed house is, and the one is right where it's probably right at the corner, the back corner of where the new house will be built.
So inside the erosion control line, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it sounds like that's before the slope starts. But Linda, did you say there were more taken down than 2?
Yeah,
No.
Oh, okay.
Those
Is
two.
that the spot you were talking about, Linda, or you're talking about some other spot?
No, I'm just concerned about that back tree because the stump from it is quite wide. And I just know that the tree's roots are oftentimes 4 and 5, 6 times the width of the trunk. And that would lead into that sloping down area. And
Yeah.
you say it only drops 6 feet. I don't believe that's true.
Well, that's
So
what-
the erosion controls will have to stay in place until everything's stabilized. They
So
can't
that
remove them.
That should prevent erosion from the tree stump that's taken out. Have
Are
got any
you planning
plan-
on? Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
have
ahead.
you-
Sorry, Dave.
I'm sorry, Katie, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask if they were planning on just planting lawn. I think that's what you were gonna ask too.
Yep. What landscaping plans do you have for the backyard, sir?
We have no plans to plant any more trees.
So you just put in grass?
Yep, just grass.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, I will entertain an order of conditions with our standard orders on them.
Hey, Dave, Chris here. I'm thinking we might want to just make sure we put an extra condition in that the erosion control barriers remain in place until we've got at least one solid growing season with that lawn in there, so we don't get any erosion down, coming along later.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions with our standard orders and a special order that says the erosion control devices stay in place for 1 year's growing season. Can I have that motion?
So move, Dave.
Moved by Chris Garahan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chris Tamula. Is there any discussion by the commission? All in favor? Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
John Swenson,
Aye.
Billy Vines,
Aye.
Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Chris Tamula,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin, aye. Very good. Next item on the agenda is 21 Wildwood. You want to read that, Chris?
Yeah, just give me a moment, Dave. Under the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a virtual public meeting on April 6, 2021 at 7 p.m. for a notice of intent filed by Glenn Cole. The applicant wishes to construct a new single-family home with associated utilities at 28 Wildwood Street. Work will take place within 100 feet of a wetland. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I see Mr. Cole and I thought his engineer was here, but I don't know. Glenn or whoever, do you want to tell us what you're going to do?
Sure. For the record, Mr. Chair, Brian Melissi with Whitman and Bingham Associates. I didn't really get a chance to do it the first one, but as usual, I take the green cards and I make copies and I send them to Katie. So I didn't get a chance to say it on the Plum Street one, but I have those of Katie if you need those, and I have the ones for this filing as well. So this is, most of this is really a cleanup item. A couple years ago, we had filed a notice of intent for Glenn and Carla Cole for what started out as a 3-lot subdivision with two roadway extensions, one off of Cypress Ave, one off of Wildwood Ave. And since we were kind of a little bit remiss and we let the order of conditions expire. The project was started, the roadway extension off of Cypress has actually been constructed and it's been in. So really what we did is we boiled this down to lot 2, which is off of Wildwood Ave. I did use the same set of plans that we permitted the original subdivision of the original project on, and included those in the notice of intent. If you were to go out there, if any of the commissioners remember, this is back where Glenn lives at 26 Wildwood, Glenn and his wife. This is currently known as 28 Wildwood, again, which is the proposed lot that goes at the end of the roadway or the extended roadway. I keep calling it a roadway. It's kind of a glorified driveway. It is 20 feet wide, and it's going to house the 2 lots. We are only here for the 1 lot, lot 2A, single family home, grading, utilities, the driveway. And if you looked at the plan, if you have the plan in front of you, this property was it has a bit of history to it back a bunch of years ago before I got involved with the project. There was an enforcement order, I believe. And if you look at the plan, there is an existing stone wall out there, and the wetlands are behind the stone wall or the retaining wall. At the time, Glenn was asked to put that in, along the 25-foot no-touch zone in order to separate the wetlands from his upland portion of the property where he was running.
Brian, is that the shaded area on the plans?
Yeah, it looks like it's we call it the riprap symbol, but it looks like a
Okay.
riprap symbol.
Yeah.
I think it's labeled that way. So you'll see the wetlands and the 25-foot no disturb zone behind. Then you'll see the 30-foot and the 50-foot, and of course the 100-foot. At the time this project was originally proposed, we went through planning, we went through engineering, and again, we went through you guys for an original order of conditions. And what we're looking to do is kind of resurrect that such that we can get that area developed.
Good. Anything else you want to add? Glenn, do you want to add anything? Okay. Questions? Mark Gibbs?
I wasn't involved in the first, when the subdivision was first done, so I'm just getting up to speed on this. Can you get back to me later?
Sure. Chris Carahan?
Hey, Dave, I think, we were involved with this back some years ago, so you seem to remember this one with the stone line. But no, I'm good. Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. John Swenson?
Dave, I don't see any problem with this. The stone bounds are there, so it's something that's been there.
Okay. Billy Vines?
I'm good, Dave. I remember this from before.
Chris Tamula?
So did we say engineering did review this and signed off on it back in the day?
Katie?
Back in the day, it did.
Yes, back in the day.
Back in the day. And that's the notice that expired.
Correct.
Okay. And as I recall it, this is not, lot 2 is not dramatically different, I don't think. There's a house coming down, and I think the greenhouse is coming down. Is that correct?
Correct. There's the old, what we referred to as the old shop or the old office building to the rear of the house. Yeah, that'd be coming down, as well as a greenhouse.
All the wetlands are on the other side of the stone wall. Is that correct? When's the last time they were flagged? Was it prior to the initial filing?
It was. So we did not go out and redelineate them.
Okay. Is there any, what's the closest distance to the wetlands from the edge corner of the new house? It's hard to read on this map.
Yeah, it is kind of tough. So what we did is it's just outside the 50-foot no structure zone, Dave, and it's so the house kind of sits between the 50 and the 100-foot zone if you look at that.
Is the stone wall a good 50-foot delineation?
The stone wall is really the 25-foot no touch zone, plus or minus.
Okay.
Yeah, it was originally meant to be the buffer. I believe it was in before the wetland bylaw was in place, but it was really meant as a kind of a no-touch area to the wetland.
Okay. On the Woodbine Street side of the lot, there's a pretty steep hill there. Is there going to be anything to protect runoff from that hill? Is stabilization? Is it going to be landscaped, or is it naturally wooded right now?
I don't believe it's wooded, and Glenn, chime in here if not, but at the time, some of the original site work was done. There was a very large compost pile. Some of the commission members might remember that.
Yeah.
It was kind of the bane of some of the abutters and whatnot. So as some of the site work developed at the initial stages, some of that slope in the back there was kind of what's the word I want to say here? It was kind of lessened a little.
So it's not the 136 to the 120 something or other?
In the yard and whatnot gets graded off. We will end up finally stabilizing that with some loam and seed.
So it will be loamed and seeded?
Correct. You're on mute, Glenn.
Your engineer's talking to you, Glenn.
Oh, go ahead, Brian.
No, he asked you a question.
Yeah, the area behind the building that's coming down is pretty much, it has poplar trees growing on it now, so it's pretty much stabilized, I would say.
So you're not going to have to dig into that.
We're not going to be digging into that at all. And if anything, would probably be pushing some material up to it to lessen the slope.
Okay. Mark, do you have any other questions? Go back to you.
No, I understand a lot better now when I'm listening to you guys. I have no questions or
Okay.
concerns about this.
Are there any questions or comments from the audience on this proposed single-family house at 28 Wildwood Street?
Yes, please, sir. My name is Tracy Reinhold. I am the Woodbine abutter just behind the building. And I simply want to clarify that no work has been done to change that gradation since the construction of the new building. And Glenn is absolutely correct. There have been some poplars, but it is a significant drop. And I would have some concerns if the grading wasn't addressed. And certainly I stopped into the office earlier this week to just ask some questions, but I was assured by the gentleman I spoke to that the team would make sure that it was in full compliance because it's a very steep grade. Granted, the building's in front of it, so that sort of butts it up against it and protects it. But once that's removed, I do feel like the grade needs to be addressed. That's all.
And do you have something specific in mind when you say needs to be addressed? You just don't want it to erode, is that correct?
Absolutely, sir. It's also, it concerns me. I mean, my children are grown up now, but you know, it's dangerous, definitely. And whether there's a fence or whether trees are put up there,
you mean it's dangerous from your property to his? Is that where the danger might exist?
It slopes down about 10 feet and it has like the 3-to-1 grade that you're supposed to have. And then there's a 10-foot cliff drop.
that would be my husband.
Well, the plans don't show a 10-foot drop in topography.
It's quite steep, that's all. And, you know, we just would like it to be addressed at some point.
We'll put some dirt up against it to try to protect it. We'll lessen that slope.
Right. And so aesthetically, you know, we just like some consideration there. That's good. Thank you, Glenn. Really appreciate that.
I understand that conversation, but remember, ma'am, this is the Conservation Commission. Our concern is primarily with regard to that slope, that erosion doesn't cause a problem on the new construction. We're not although as citizens, we're concerned with safety. As conservationists, we're more looking at the erosion issues. I would suggest that when the house is being built, because chances are you're going to have equipment in the back of the house as you construct it as well, that some kind of a silt fence or straw wattles be put along that between the house and the edge of the property to prevent runoff on that hill. Is that all right with you, Glenn?
Yep, absolutely.
Any other questions from the audience?
Hey, sir, it's James Farrier.
Yes, sir.
So I had a question. I was looking at the plans here, and so it does look like the very front corner of that house is right up against the 50-foot no-build zone. Also, it looks like the road coming in from Woodbine crosses that, which is a private way, if I understand right, crosses into that 50-foot no-build zone. Will any of that road or the utility cross into that 50-foot no-build zone? It looks like the entire house is almost inside the 100-foot.
The 50-foot no-build regulation applies to the construction of a building. All right, that does not apply to the construction of a driveway or roadway. There is also a 25-foot no disturbance on the site, and there is a 30-foot no impervious on the site. That would pertain, both the 25 and 30-foot would apply to a paved driveway, not a pervious. The 30-foot would not apply to a pervious. But your 50-foot comment only applies to the house, and it appears on the plans that the house is outside of the 50-foot. Somebody made the comment it might be right at the 50-foot. We can make sure that when the foundation goes in, it is no closer than 50 feet.
Hey, let's get that foundation pinned,
Yeah.
ahead of time, so we don't have an encroachment.
Yeah. What's the Brian, what's the closest point on the private lane to the 30 foot from the, I can't,
So the private lane at its closest point just barely touches, some of the grading just barely touches the 50 foot.
the 50
Nope.
foot?
The
Or the
50
30,
foot.
or the 30 foot?
Nope, the 50 foot.
But you
I
know,
know it's tough to see because there's so many lines. There's the 25, the 30, the 50, and the 100.
but
Uh,
you're not near the 30 foot, no impervious.
We are not.
Okay. Is that okay? Do you understand that, Mr. Faria?
Yep, understand that. The other question I had is, I know at the beginning of the presentation, the gentleman said that there was originally a plan for a third house that's not included in this 2016 plan. Is there still a plan for a future permit to come up for that again also? And this is starting to turn into, a little bit of a development all up against these wetlands if a third house is going in at some point. Is there still a plan for that?
You want?
That
Yes.
doesn't have to be answered if you don't want to.
So there is an additional lot that, lot 2B, and this filing here does not encumber lot 2B right now. We're just looking to get lot 2A re-permitted.
Where would 2B be, Brian?
So there's an A&R plan, 2B, you see where the old, I think it's still on the plan, but you see where the greenhouse is?
Yeah.
So lot 2B kind of encompasses that area over there. There's an A&R plan. Again, I kind of have it, maybe I don't have it teed up. But it would be in that area over there.
On the other side of the private lane, or
Correct.
incorporating part of the private lane.
Correct.
You got that, Mr. Faria?
Yeah, understand.
Okay, good. Any other questions?
So in the construction of the previous house that was built in 2016, that was part of the original permit, or did any violations occur in the construction of that house?
I'm unaware of any. Are you, Katie?
At the state or local level?
No violations on that previous permit. I think it's still open.
On the rock
Brian,
wall?
is it still open?
I believe it is.
It's still open, so you should probably consider closing it out, and then I can do my final inspection, but I don't believe there are any violations during.
Mr. Faria, at the conclusion of a project at a time to be determined by the owner, they ask the Conservation Commission to issue a certificate of compliance. That has not been issued yet. Some of those matters would be addressed when that request is made.
Would non-compliance on that property affect approval of this permit if that's not closed out yet?
Katie, can you answer that?
No, this is it would have if the permit was still active, but this is a entirely new filing technically. So this is technically its own house rather than a subdivision.
He's talking about the one that was constructed.
Yeah, I know, and I'm saying if this was still part of the original permit for the subdivision, then yes, but now it's technically a new notice of intent, so it's a separate permit.
We will make sure when we review the certificate of compliance that the construction of the house on the site was in agreement with what the Conservation Commission asked the applicant to do. That's not the building department. That's the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, understand. Yeah, and I appreciate what you're saying. That would kind of seem like a little bit of a loophole in the rule where you can let your permit expire and not be hit for a conservation compliance issue.
That's not what I said. If there's any violations on the house that you're talking about, the previously built one, he will have to fix them. He will face ramifications for him. We will not close his permit out, and he'll be required to make it right. So, but if you're asking if we can simply tell him no to this house because he has violations on the other one, but that's not what we can do.
Understand. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Dave, can I ask a silly question, I guess? So the plan, so which lot is lot 2A? Because the plan that I have, it calls lot 1, calls lot 2, and calls lot 3. I don't see a 2A anywhere.
2A is not on here.
It's your, there should be another plan included, Chris.
I believe I
Oh,
included, okay.
I got it. My bad.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay.
All set, Dave.
Okay. All right, I will entertain a motion to issue a order of conditions on 28 Wildwood Street with our standard order, and also that there are two special orders, I believe. One is that the foundation of the building closest to the 50-foot setback should be pinned and reviewed by the conservation agent before construction, and that there be straw wattles and/or silt fences put on the hill between Woodbine, on the property between Woodbine and the foundation to prevent erosion during construction.
So moved, Dave.
Moved by Chris Garahan. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by John. Any further discussion? All in favor? Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
John Swenson,
Aye.
Bill Vines,
Aye.
Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Chris Tamula,
Aye.
and Dave McLaughlin is aye. Thank you. Next
Very good.
item is.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is a request to install an art exhibit for the Chelmsford Cranberry Reservation. Is Rose Christian here or not?
I don't think she was coming.
Okay. Because there may be some questions. Can you ask? Well, we'll see if you can.
I do have a few questions actually after I looked at it closer.
Yeah.
I have a few concerns.
Should we continue this and ask her to attend?
Well, let's see what we come up with for questions.
Well, we're going to come up with a bunch of questions that we're going to end up having to ask her.
Well, I have some basic concerns.
Oh, go ahead. Why don't you start?
My basic concern is the obvious things hanging from trees on our reservations. She said, I think it says up to 48 flags across trees. I also have concerns that it might hinder wildlife movement, such as deer.
Well, they're 7 feet up, is what she
Yeah.
said, which in and of itself raises a question. I can't see anything that's 7 feet up from the ground. I don't know how anybody else can, but okay.
Yeah, I just have concerns, obviously vandalism of the art project, them blowing off the tree and littering. I guess Phil's already on board with this.
Do we know if the Chelmsford Art Center is aware of this?
She didn't say anything. I spoke briefly with her on the phone,
Okay.
and I didn't really get a chance to review it too closely with all the other projects I was reviewing, but
I think we should ask her to attend, if you don't mind.
okay.
Does anyone else have any specific questions they want to raise? Because we'll just have to ask her.
How long would they be up for?
Yeah, that was another one.
I have that question
Yeah.
too, Billy. And what happens if the weather tears them down? Is she going to replace them, or are they going to lay on the ground?
I mean, Dave, I'd be more comfortable if, like you said, we had some sort of a specific period.
Well, remember the notice we allowed the guy to put up on the kiosk about electric
That's right.
conservation or something? I think we said 6 months.
Yeah, we did. We limited it in scope. So I'd feel more comfortable if we have some limitations somewhat like that. And
All right.
maybe a trial basis first.
Let me, if it's all right with you guys, can you reach out to her, Katie, and ask her to attend our April 20th meeting?
Yeah, I'll do that.
I mean, it's not that we're against it. We just have a bunch of questions we don't know the answers to. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Willis Drive, conservation land recurrent use. You've all got a letter there, I think, or an email from Mr. McKessie, who's talking about the abuse of that site at the foot of 6th Avenue where we allow, remember, some of you will know this, the rest of you don't. We have a separate use regulations for that site, which is pretty much our own use regulations, but there are some that are specific, like, for example, people can use the site to swim in Freeman Lake to the extent that the town allows swimming, that people can use the site to cross it to get to Freeman Lake, that people can use the site to launch boats that are permitted in Freeman Lake, and that they can store the boats there on a temporary basis, not defined. It was our understanding that temporary meant a season from spring to fall. This letter says that that's being abused somewhat. He is incorrect in the sense that the property is not limited in its use to the residents. The property is available for use by all Chelmsford residents. So in that sense, it's not a private conservation area. We do have to address people storing property there for longer than a temporary basis. He talks about a lot of trash. Well, we're going to have trash. And in the proposed regulation, it authorizes the residents to maintain the property if they so choose. It doesn't direct them to do it. He talks about parking vehicles on the land, which indicates to me that the site is getting some pretty heavy use, which I think we need to take a look at. We probably need to put up some more informational signs up there. The only signs that we have posted are a small circular conservation land sign.
That lot is such a problem, Dave. I remember the first time we had a problem, I went when we had that fire pit out there. I actually put a letter in the fire pit, and as I was driving away, one of the abutters took it out and ripped it up.
Oh, sure.
And I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm the conservation agent. That letter needs to stay there." And she's like, "Oh, sorry," and she threw it back in there. So I don't know if signs are even going to work. It seems like it's disrespectful crowd out there.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we have that problem on all our reservations. If people choose to abuse it, they're going to abuse it, right?
Yeah.
But I do think maybe we could, if parking, and I think all of us should drive up there for a couple of times and see what this guy's talking about. I don't think it's causing the erosion that he addresses, unless there's extremely heavy boats going.
No, that doesn't look like, that looks like rain erosion,
Yeah,
runoff,
right.
ice melt.
He did raise an issue of whether or not there's runoff from Willis Road eroding into Freeman Lake. We can take a look at that. I mean, Willis Road is so close to Freeman Lake, there may be a lot of spots where there's potential erosion. So I think maybe, and we should not put out trash barrels, because we know all that does is encourage trash. It doesn't eliminate. Did anybody else read anything in this letter that they think needs to be addressed? All right.
Okay, we should take a look at it, maybe talk about it next meeting, right?
Yeah, why don't I ask give you guys all a homework assignment to drive up there a couple of times, hang out there for maybe half an hour, just see how bad the situation is. I think we can put up a no parking sign. I mean, if people are leaving boats there year round, then we can have them removed at the end of the season. We can tell people that if your boat must be removed after November. And if it's not, we'll order DPW to remove it for you. We can do that. Okay. Anything else on this matter? I will take that under advisement as well.
You want on the next agenda, Dave?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Warren Poll, give you an update. You all know town meeting is now June 17th, so we won't get the funding to build the parking lot until, well, probably wouldn't get it until the 1st of July anyhow. So that means what I would like to do with Carl and Mark is get some agreement as to where the trails are. I think we know. Work up a bill of material about how many signs we need for trails, how many posts we need to handle the signs so that we can get those in the ground, at least to create some walking trails initially. We're going to delay on constructing the right reservation because we need to address the infringement problem on the property, the Gadboys property that is on Parker. If we give them an easement to allow the corner of their garage and the corner of their driveway, giving an easement to a citizen requires a vote of town meeting. So that would take that would push us into the spring before we could build out the trail to get to right reservation. We talked a bit about last time about what the name should be. Have you guys given any more thought to it? The sense I got is that we should probably call it the Warren Poll Reservation. Has anyone else got any other ideas? If not, that's the name I think we can adopt.
Dave, I thought that was a good idea. And when you have these signs inside the trails and those type of things can refer to the Warren Farm specifically.
Right. Carl's working with Becky Warren. Remember, Becky Warren spent most of her professional career as a ranger in the Lowell Park. So she knows how to teach people, and she knows how signs can be used to tell a story. So Carl's working with her to develop a story about the Warren Farm that can be placed strategically along trails. And you're right, Billy, that's a good idea. We'd also had a little bit of talk about where to put the granite stone sign. Our thought was somewhere around the parking lot that we're going to build off of Boston Road. Has anyone got any more thoughts about that?
It seems natural, Dave.
All right, what we'll do is we'll kind of pick a couple of spots and show where we need 4 or 5 months, I think, 4 to 5 months lead time to get the stone. Weeks. I'm sorry, weeks. So we'll keep that in mind.
What are we going to use for marking the entrance from Boston Road? Is that going to be any kind of signage there at all?
Yeah, we'll have to put some, and I'm sure, and we got to work with DPW because they're going to have some safety signs too.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have to put a fence right there by the back door of the Brown condos, so the people coming out that back door don't step into the driveway. Right, you're right.
Hey, Dave, is the gate that's there now, is that going to stay?
That gate's coming down. We're going to have 2 fire gates. One will be at the end of the pole driveway, which is further up closer to the barn, their driveway that comes from Boston Road. There'll be a fire gate there. Then at the back of the parking lot, we'll put a second fire gate so that cars can't drive out onto the field. But the gate that exists there today will come down.
Okay.
The other item is we're working on the conservation restriction, which has become a bit of a headache. It seems that no matter what the town tells the Chelmsford Conservation Land Trust, they're seeing fit to draft the conservation restriction and ask us to comment on it. I've asked Dale, who's paying for it, because I don't know that the town's paying for it. At least I have not been told that the town's paying for it. So rather than having a peeing contest with the land trust, we're trying to work with them. We're fairly what a conservation restriction says is, here's the property that has to be managed by a third party. And that property is laid out in what's called a delineation report, which has maps, locations, soil conditions, topography conditions, a whole bunch of stuff, which says this is the site that you start with. Then the restriction says, these are the things you cannot do on the site. And then the second section is, however, these are the things you can do on the site. The biggest concern I have right now, which this is a public hearing, so it's for anyone to hear. The biggest concern I have now is in the section that tells us what we can do. Most of them say you can do it with the land trust's approval. Frankly, that's not telling us what we can do. And I would say, no, we can't, that's unacceptable. If you're telling us we can do it, we're going to do it. And the things that they don't want you to do, well, you'll see it at some point, are the typical things that, I don't know, you can't build a 6-story skyscraper on the site, that kind of stuff, which I don't think any of us will have trouble. The biggest problem I have is they're requiring us to seek their approval every time we sneeze. And to me, that's unacceptable. So we're still working on it. The timeline to get a conservation restriction approved is maybe a year to submit it to the state, and then 6 months to a year for the state to approve it. Now, the land trust has suggested that during that time frame, we abide by the terms of the land trust, of the conservation restriction. And I'm saying, no, it doesn't exist. We haven't signed up for it. All we have to do is follow our own conservation regulations and whatever's spelled out in the purchase and sale agreement, which is pretty simple. So that's where we are. I mean, we're not fighting anybody. We're not at loggerheads. We haven't even had a negotiation session yet. I don't know who signs this thing. I suspect Paul Cohen signs it. So at some point he's going to have to because I don't think we sign it. I got to find that out. So we're making good progress.
Dave, do we have one of these somewhere else?
Well, there is a conservation restriction that exists on the Sheehan farm. There's a conservation restriction that exists on Sunny Meadows.
Is the land trust?
Yes.
They hold out both of those?
They hold both of those, and they're using that as a template, I think.
All parties signed, Dave.
I'm sorry?
I think all the parties involved signed.
Who are other than us and the land trust, who are the other parties?
Well, it would be us and the land trust. I don't know if Paul would sign. It'd be the landowner.
Well, I don't know.
And then
No, you're right. Correct. I just don't know if the Conservation Commission has legal authority to sign it.
I think we have to sign as property owners.
Yeah, but the town owns the property, not the Conservation Commission.
I thought we did.
No, it's been assigned to us. That doesn't mean we own it. Anyhow, we can figure that out.
All right.
I think, Billy, they're using those other two documents as their basis for presenting this one to us. It's been my experience that when you're in negotiations, you always want to control the document. And I feel as if they're not letting us do that. And I've told the lawyers we need to control the document. We need them to respond to us rather than us respond to them. So we'll see what happens. Last item I have on the agenda, Mark brought out at the outset, is there's been a little activity out of the cranberry bog. Somebody has stuck a 12-inch board into the spillway out there. We have, I think, 3 6-inch boards that we adjust over time. You'll recall last fall that we discussed what level we wanted the upper pond to be, and we agreed it should not be any higher than 12 inches from the top of the dam. Somebody, unbeknownst to us and apparently everyone else, saw fit to drop a 12-inch board in instead of a 6-inch board, which fortunately, since it's been a dry season, has not caused the dam to overflow. Phil Stanway brought it to my attention. Good for him. I told him to take it out. I told him that we were looking to hit costs to follow our operating procedure for that dam level. He went out again, and somebody had already taken it out. So, and it's
Those beavers are getting smart.
Interestingly enough, the conservation at Carlisle, when I brought it to her attention, made a comment to me. She said, I've been getting some phone calls that it's pretty dry down here in Carlisle. Well, a 12-inch board would certainly contribute to that. So we'll keep an eye on that. We need, Mark made up or was going to make up a couple of extra 6, whatever they were, boards for us.
2x4 and 2x6s.
Yeah, and we were going to keep them handy because what happened, I mean, they're not locked in place, so some kids can pull them out and throw them away. In fact, Phil said the 12-inch one was in place and the 6-inch one was lying on the ground off to the side. So, and people will do that.
It kind of has to be someone who understands the mechanics of it, though.
No, somebody says, "Gee, I'd like this. I think it'd be look nice if the pond was higher." So they throw the board in there. That's all it is, right?
Yeah.
I think you're giving them more credit than they're due.
I think it's beavers, Dave.
Yeah, that could be.
I think it's
those of you that go out
the beavers. They're advanced.
It's the two-legged beavers, Katie.
So those of you who go out to the cranberry bog and walk around, keep an eye on that dam, if you would, for us. Anything else tonight, guys? Katie, you got anything? Oh, we got some minutes.
No, we don't.
Minutes.
We don't have minutes.
No minutes?
I decided to table them to the next meeting because I didn't get them. Vivian just got them to me through email last night, so I didn't get them into your packet.
I think
So
Vivian,
it's not a big deal.
Vivian's problem is her new husky's been chewing up the minutes. That's
Ate her homework.
Yeah, ate her homework, right?
So we can table them so everybody can have them as a hard copy. Because I don't know if everybody got them through email, and she's fine with that. So.
Okay, anything else to come before the commission tonight?
I move to adjourn, Dave.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.